Hello, everyone, again. We're going to read chapter 8 this morning. Chapter 8 is called Trouble. When I wake up in the morning, I lie on my bed looking at the crack in the ceiling. It seems to have sprouted mini cracks in the night, the way branches grow from a stem. If there was another tremor, then I must have slept through it. I roll over onto my side and rub my eyes. The air coming through my window feels warm and sticky, and slowly I pull myself up into a sitting position on the side of the mattress. It feels as though I've forgotten something important, and while I sit on the bed scratching my messy hair, I close my eyes and try to remember. Then it comes to me in a flash. I leap off the bed and rush from my room. My parents are already up, sitting at the table, but Grandma is still asleep in her armchair. "Wake up, Grandma! It's my birthday!" Her head jerks up, and for a few seconds she just blinks. Then she realizes what's going on and smiles. "Happy birthday, Boody." She reaches out and draws me into a big hug. "Happy birthday, son," Dad says, standing up and ruffling my hair. He's wearing his white shirt and his hair is neatly combed. A folded newspaper is tucked under his arm. Mum comes over and gives me a hug. "I remember when you were just a baby and I could carry you in one arm. Now look at you. I can hardly believe it." "You're almost as tall as me," Dad says. "Quite the young man," Grandma says. I smile and look at each of them in turn. It feels as though I'm getting taller as I stand here. "I hope you're hungry," Mum says. "Your father has been out already to buy some fresh fruit and bread." A big bowl of chopped up fruit sits in the center of the table, and Mum brings a bread roll for each of us from the kitchen. My stomach feels as though it's eating itself, and the sight of so much food makes me rush to my seat. On the table in front of my chair, there is a present. It's long and thin and wrapped in old newspaper sheets. As I take my seat, I notice that everyone is watching me with big grins on their faces. "Well, go on then," Grandma says. "Aren't you going to open it?" "Shouldn't I wait until after breakfast?" "Oh, don't be silly," Grandma says. "Presents are for opening, not looking at. That fruit salad isn't going anywhere." I pick up the gift and try to guess what it might be. It feels very light and is shaped like a tube. I carefully begin to unwrap the present, trying not to rip the newspaper. "Oh, don't worry about that," Grandma says. "Tear it open." I grab big handfuls of paper, throwing them on the floor around my chair. What is it?" I ask, turning the white tube over in my hands. "Take the rubber band off," Dad says. I slide the band to the end of the tube and realize that whatever it is must be rolled up. "Is it a poster?" I ask. "Have a look and find out for yourself," Mum says. But I can tell from her smile that I've guessed it. Standing up, I hold the top edge and unroll the glossy paper. First, I see a pair of hands together, as if they're clapping. In the background is a blurry crowd. I unravel the poster a little further and see that beneath the hands are white sleeves. I unroll the poster even more and see that Kieran Wakefield is staring back at me. "Oh, this is so cool." "I keep going," Mum says. I keep unraveling the poster and see the brilliant whiteness of his Real Madrid shirt, then his shorts, and finally his socks. Then I see his boots and I almost collapse. "He's wearing my boots! He's wearing the boots that I make at the factory." "Keep going," Mum says again. "That's not the best bit." I unroll the poster to its full length, and this time I do collapse into my chair. In the bottom right-hand corner, against the green of the pitch, is Kieran Wakefield's autograph. The poster is signed by Kieran Wakefield himself. Oh, I open my mouth to speak, but nothing comes out. "Well, what's the matter?" Grandma asks. "Turn it around so I can have a look." I hold it up for Grandma to see. She squints at the poster for a few seconds before nodding her head. "Oh, very nice," she says. although he's nowhere near as handsome as Elvis. Do you like it? Mum asks. Oh, I love it. It's the best present ever. I carefully roll the poster up, put the elastic band round the middle and take it to my bedroom. Then I give everyone another hug. Very good, says Grandma finally. Now, let's eat. The fruit salad is delicious, and the bread rolls are warm and soft. Everyone is in a really good mood, and at one point Grandma even sings an Elvis song. Dad reads his newspaper and tells us that the pay rise must be just round the corner because the politicians are about to pass a law. Apparently you can't change anything without a law being passed first. Dad says, once the legislation goes through, everything should be in place. After that, maybe we'll be able to have fruit salad and fresh bread every morning. And I can go to Spain and watch Real Madrid win the league. Mum and Dad laugh, but Grandma is too busy cramming orange segments into her mouth to pay attention to anything else. Do you want to invite Roshi over for dinner tonight? Mum asks. He's such a nice boy, and it's been so long since we last saw him. I'm making extra spicy rendang with martabak pancakes for dessert. Oh, yes, please. Then we can go to his apartment to watch the match. Who are they playing tonight? Dad asks. Sevilla. So it should be an easy 3 points. Dad wipes his mouth and folds his newspaper up. All right, son. We better get going or we'll be late for work. And if that happens, there'll be no fresh fruit or bread for anyone. I go to my room and put my shoes on. The poster is lying on the bed and I quickly unroll it to have one last look. I can't believe I own a poster signed by Kieran Wakefield. I run my hand over the autograph in the corner, following the loops and lines of the link. As I trace my finger over it, I can almost hear the crowd chanting his name. Come on, birthday boy, Dad calls from the other room. We've got to get going. I roll the poster up and hide it down the side of my bed. The poster is worth a lot of money, so I don't want it to get damaged or stolen. Then I rush out to meet Dad, waving goodbye to Mum and Grandma as we leave. When I get to the factory, the foreman is standing behind my seat. Roshi is already at his station, a dark patch of sweat circling the number 7 on his back. He doesn't look round. Not today, Boody, the foreman says, shaking his head. He raises a hand and points the rotan towards the boxing section. That's where you'll be for the time being. We can't afford any more mistakes like yesterday. I turn to face the boxing section. Stacks and stacks of shoe boxes. Sheets and sheets of wrapping paper. Roll after roll of sticky labels. Happy birthday to me. I spend 2 hours assembling cardboard boxes, 2 hours stuffing paper inside boots, and 2 hours wrapping and boxing boots. Then I have a break. Then I spend another 2 hours attaching labels to boxes and 2 hours stacking boxes onto a trolley and wheeling them into the loading room. When the buzzer finally goes, I've almost forgotten it's my birthday. Roshi meets me by the exit and we walk home in silence. It's only when I smell the rendang that I begin to cheer up. Hello, Boody, Mum calls from the kitchen. Hello, Roshi. It's good to see you again. How's your mother? Very well, Ibu. And your sisters? They're also well, thank you. Mum smiles and stirs the contents of a pan. This won't be ready for a while, so you can go out and play if you like. It's training, Mum, not playing. How many times? Anyway, I've got to show Roshi my poster first. Okay, she says. I'll call you when it's ready. Roshi says hello to Grandma, and then I take him to my room and retrieve the poster from down the side of my bed. I unroll it and place it on my mattress, pinning it down with my hands. That's amazing, Roshi says. Where did your parents find it? I don't know. It must have been really difficult to get hold of. Look at where he signed it. Roshi stoops over and squints at the black squiggle in the corner. There's a number 11 in that loop, I say. Can you see? That's how you know it's genuine. Isn't it perfect? Roshi straightens up, nodding. It's really cool. I gaze at it for a few moments before rolling it up and putting it back in its hiding place. Aren't you going to put it up on the wall? Roshi asks. Oh, no way. Do you know how much this must be worth? No. Do you? Well, a lot. It's way too valuable to just stick on the wall. What if there's another earth tremor or a leak in the apartment above and it gets ruined? Or what if someone sees it through the window and climbs in to steal it? I don't think anyone's going to climb through your window to steal it, Roshi says. Well, I don't want to take that chance. You're the only person who knows where I've hidden it, so make sure you don't tell anyone. All right, I won't. Do you promise? Yes, Booty, Roshi sighs and places a hand over his heart. I promise not to reveal the whereabouts of your poster to a living soul. Good. Now we can go and do some training. Roshi goes to fetch Fakhri, Ustan and Widodo while I practice kick-ups in the square. Everything around me, the dusty streets, the crumbling buildings, the litter, blurs into patches of brown and grey as I loop the ball from one foot to the other. Within a couple of minutes, the others have arrived and we split into two teams. You're going down this time, Ustan says as Fakhri kicks the ball into the air. Ha! Well, we'll see. I control the ball as it comes down and flick it between Widodo's legs. Roshi shields the ball from Ustan and passes it back to me. Widodo lunges in, but I'm too good at dodging tackles and he slides past as I drag the ball back. Fakhri tries to narrow the angle, but I strike the ball into the top corner. 1-0, Roshi shouts. I make the shape of a heart and pat my chest where the Real Madrid should be. Ustan swears at Widodo and tells him to stay on his feet. Fakhri kicks the ball high into the air for the restart and it drops perfectly for a volley. Ustan rushes to close me and swirl my body around and blast the ball as hard as I can. But Ustan manages to get his body in the way and instead of flying towards the goal, the ball rebounds off his back in the opposite direction. Towards the dragon's house. It's like watching a slow-motion replay of a Lazzaro Celestino goal. My heart plummets in my stomach. The blood in my veins turns to ice and I am completely helpless as the ball flies through a first-floor window. Luckily, the windows round here aren't the type with glass in them, but I hear a smash from inside the room followed by raised voices. I stand rooted to the spot. My whole body seems to shudder with every heartbeat. A film of clammy sweat sticks to my forehead. This is the last birthday I'll ever have. I look around for something, anything, that might save me. Roshi, Ustan and Widodo stand with their mouths open. Fakhri is already gone. Then a voice booms from behind me, and I turn back to the dragon's house. Whose ball is this? The man asks. It's not the dragon, but it's one of his brothers. He stands on the top step, holding the ball at arm's length in a big bejeweled hand. His shirt is open to the heat, exposing his hairy chest and round belly. I try to raise my arm, but the muscles won't respond. Roshi once told me it's impossible to punch yourself in the face. He was right. I tried it and couldn't do it. He said your brain stops from hurting yourself. That's what must be happening to me now. Out of the corner of my eye, I notice Roshi's hand going up. It belongs to Budi, Ustan shouts, and I spin around to see him pointing a finger at me. Then he turns and flees down one of the alleys with Widodo following close behind. Slowly, I turn back to face the dragon's brother. He grins at me, showing a set of small reddish teeth. Whenever I watch a movie at Roshi's, it's never good news when the bad guys smile. It means they've come up with an idea that they like. And more than anything else, the Dragon's clan like making people pay. Don't just stand there, little man. Come and get your ball back. My brain obviously thinks that standing like a statue and disobeying the dragon's brother is more dangerous than walking towards him, because my feet start to shuffle through the dust in the direction of the apartment block. Roshi begins to follow, but the dragon's brother scowls and shoos him away. If you want to be able to walk home, I suggest you get lost now, kid. I glance at Roshi, and he gives me a weak smile. Then he takes a step back. As I reach the top step, the dragon's brother puts a hand on my back and steers me into the building. I try to look back at Roshi, but the dragon's brother blocks my view. Let's go upstairs and talk about football, he says. The dragon is a big fan, you know. I don't say anything and keep my eyes down. The ground crunches beneath my feet. The stairwell is littered with broken bottles and cigarette butts and bits of tinfoil, and everywhere I look there are these red splats like blood. We reach the first floor and turn into a room that's even filthier than the stairwell, and the whole floor is red, like it's been painted with blood. I can't look at it without thinking about my bleeding problem. I guess it won't be such a problem when I'm dead. In the center of the room, there is a low table with 2 pairs of feet resting on it, and between them a bottle lies on its side, its neck broken and the golden contents dripping over the edges of the table. A ceiling fan stirs warm air around me, and a sharp smell catches in my throat, like petrol. This is the kid, the dragon's brother says. He leaves me by the door and slumps down into a chair. I keep my eyes down. Thank you, Bayu. The voice is unfamiliar, but I know who it belongs to. So, you're a football fan like me, huh? I nod without looking up. A murmur of laughter passes round the room. It's a good idea to look at me when I'm talking to you. I raise my head and meet the dragon's stare. He's frowning and smirking at the same time, but mostly frowning. 2 gold chains sit on his chest, and I wonder whether it's the weight of them that makes his breathing shallow and raspy. As he watches me, he twists a ring around one of his thick fingers, smiling properly to reveal a row of crooked red teeth. Hey, I know this kid, says the man sitting beside the dragon. I've seen him somewhere before. As I turn to look at the man, he takes his feet off the table and sits forward. I recognize him from the factory. He's the brother that makes collections from the foreman. You work at the factory, don't you? I nod, because I don't trust my voice to work. I knew you looked familiar. What section do you work on? I sew, I say, my voice croaky. Sewing? Asks the brother who brought me upstairs. Isn't that a girl's job? He grins. I keep my mouth shut. I suppose you get to hang around with girls all day, and that can't be bad. I don't think girls are that great, I mumble. They all laugh, even the dragon. Maybe if I make them laugh enough, they'll give me my football back and let me go without cutting my feet off. The dragon turns his head to the side and spits a jet of red saliva over his shoulder. That's when I realize it's not blood on the ground, it's spit. They must all chew siri, and that's why their teeth are stained and the floor is covered in red splats. Don't worry, the dragon says, that will all change soon. Then you'll realize you've got the best job in the world. He winks, but I shake my head. The best job in the world is playing football professionally. That's what I want to do when I'm old enough. Ha! The dragon scratches his thinning hair. So you're the next Lazzaro Celestino, huh? We could use someone like him in the national squad. We were lucky to beat the Filipinos last month. The brothers mumble their agreement. No, I say, not like Lazzaro Celestino. Not like Lazzaro Celestino at all. I would never play for Barcelona. Barcelona are scum. Ah, so you're a Real Madrid man. Belmonte? No. Wakefield. The dragon whistles through the gaps in his teeth. That's one expensive pair of feet. Well, I hope you get there one day, little man. Remind me to raise your rent when you do, yeah? They all laugh. I try to smile, but can't. What happened to your leg? The dragon asks. I look down and see that a trickle of blood has leaked through the crusty layer of coconut butter. I shrug like it's no big deal. I injured myself playing football. You should be more careful, he says. but the way he says it makes it sound like he doesn't mean it. Then he looks at the broken bottle on the table and raises his eyebrows. You'd better go and fetch us a new bottle of whiskey, the dragon says. I look from one brother to another. I can't afford one, I mumble. What was that? I don't have enough money. Well, then I suggest you go and steal one. Hang on, Bayou, the brother with my football says. I've got a better idea. Boys, weren't you saying you wanted a pair of football boots for your son's birthday? And that Kurang Aja foreman wouldn't give you one lousy pair? The brother I recognized from the factory nods. That's right. He said every pair had to be accounted for, and if one went missing, there would be a big problem. I felt like getting my knife out and giving him a big problem right there and then. Well, says the dragon, here is your solution. Little Lazaro can bring us the boots. All three brothers turn to look at me. A bead of sweat trickles down the side of my face. If you don't want this little incident to cause any trouble for your family, the dragon says, I suggest you accept our generous offer and do this favor for Boaz. And what if I don't do it? I ask. What if I can't? The dragon takes a deep breath and his big chest swells. If you don't do it, I'll pay some street rat a few thousand rupiah to do the job, and then I'll let the foreman know who I think the thief might be. Then you'll be on the first boat to Nusa Kambangan. I look down at my feet and imagine being dragged out of a cell in the middle of the night. Imagine being marched to a quiet spot. Kneeling or standing, they ask. And then they pull the trigger. And I think of my uncle and I shiver. Is that a yes? The dragon asks. I nod. Good boy. Boys, tell little Lazaro what you need. It's my son's birthday on Tuesday, he says, so I need them before then. I don't really care about the color. I just need a pair to shut my wife up. She's always telling me that our boy should get the best of everything. Blah, blah, blah. Oh, she gives me a headache. You know what I mean? I nod again, even though I don't really know what he means. Mum never gives Dad a headache. They need to be the type with rubber soles, not studs. And don't you dare bring me a fake pair like the ones you're wearing, understand? I'll be able to tell if you do. I've got the size written down on a piece of paper somewhere. He starts digging into his pockets, searching through thick wads of cash until he comes across a crumpled bit of paper. I made a note for the foreman, but he didn't even look at it, the anjing. He stands up and hands the piece of paper to me. Written in shaky handwriting is a line of letters followed by a line of numbers. US 3. UK, size 2. Europe, size 34. Japan, size 22. Now, says the dragon, taking my football from Bayou. Fetch. He hurls it out of the window and I turn and run as fast as I can. The brothers' laughter echoes after me down the stairwell. I grab my football from the middle of the square and run towards home. As I round the corner, Roshi gets up from the curb and puts an arm out to stop me. I double over, breathing hard. Budi, what happened? I can't talk, so I pass him the piece of paper. He unfolds the note and frowns at it. What's this? My family, I say. Have you told my family? What? No, I wasn't going to, but I wanted to speak to you first. What's this about? What happened? They want me to steal for them, I say, straightening up, and the words or the movement make me feel queasy. They want you to? Roshi's voice trails off as he looks at the piece of paper. They want you to steal from the factory, he whispers. They want a pair of boots with rubber soles by Tuesday, I say, shaking my head. In this size, Roshi asks, but he doesn't wait for my reply. Budi, you're not going to do it, are you? What choice do I have? But if you get caught, you'll never work again. Think about what the foreman would do to you. You can't do it. You've got to go back and beg the dragon. There must be another way. He said if I don't do it, he'll use somebody else and frame me. It's no good. I can tell Roshi knows it's true. We stand together for a few moments, listening to the noises we hear every day. The hum of generators, the clank of pots and pans, the chatter of families, the drone of scooters, the barking of dogs, and the shrieking of cats. Only tonight they seem different. Like I'm listening to them through a thick wall. Like if I followed one sound in particular, I'd never be able to find the source. Come on, Roshi, says. Your family are waiting. You've got to try and pretend this never happened. We both look at the piece of paper, and then Roshi rips it into tiny pieces and lets them flutter to the ground. Forget about that, he said, smiling. It's your birthday. Let's eat some rendang and watch the greatest team on earth take Sevilla apart. I smile, but underneath there's that feeling like the dragon's hand is on the knife, like a spurt of blood just jumped from my heart, and the thick drops are trickling down through me. I try to ignore it. As we enter the apartment, the smell of spices makes my mouth water. I smile. I help Grandma with her tablets, and Mum brings the meal over from the kitchen. I keep smiling. I don't know if Budi told you, Mum says to Roshi, but this rendang is extra spicy. I hope you don't mind. Oh, of course not, Ibu. The spicier, the better. That's what I always say, Grandma says. It's impossible to have a dish that's too spicy. Spice is good for you. The hotter, the better. Good, Mum says, pouring the curry onto individual trays. I just hope I've made enough to fill 2 growing boys. By the time the first mouthful reaches my stomach, my mouth is on fire. My tongue tingles and my cheeks start to go numb. Dad's forehead is dotted with tiny beads of sweat, and every few minutes he takes a big gulp of water. Oh, you never could handle your spice, could you, Elvis? Grandma says. Dad dabs his forehead and takes another sip from his cup. When he looks up, his eyes are watering. Ah, it's fiery, he says. Everyone round the table laughs. It's very hot, Roshi says, but it's delicious. Finally, when we're all finished, the trays are cleared away and Mum brings pancakes to the table. I force myself to eat as many pieces as possible. You never know when you're going to get sweet martabak again. When I've finished eating, I feel too full to move, and we sit around the table talking for hours. Grandma dozes off and only wakes up when Roshi and I are about to leave. What time is the match? Dad asks. You don't want to miss it. Midnight, I say, standing up from the table. Come on, Roshi, we should probably get going. It's been lovely having you here for dinner, Mum says to Roshi. You know you're always welcome. Yes, says Grandma. It's nice to see someone with such a healthy appetite. Thank you, Nenek, Roshi says. It's been my pleasure. The food was great. Will you send our regards to your family? Mum says. Of course, Ibu, and thank you again. Take care when you walk home tonight, Budi, Mum says. He'll be fine, Grandma replies. You forget how old he is. Mum nods and smiles. It looks as though she's about to cry, but I don't know why she would. As Roshi and I walk over to his apartment, we see lights on in some of the buildings, which is a good sign because it means his television will probably work. The roads are virtually empty, and we only occasionally hear something rustle among the piles of rubbish and see a scooter race past the end of the street. When we reach his apartment, Roshi's mum is sitting on the mattress in the corner of the room. A table lamp throws a cone of weak yellow light around her, but it's too gloomy to see what she's doing. It looks as though she might be taking some tablets, like Grandma does. I've brought Budi round to watch the football, Roshi says. It's his birthday today. Roshi's mum grunts but doesn't look up. Make sure you keep the noise down, she says. Roshi shakes his head. Budi's family send their regards. This time, his mum doesn't even grunt. Roshi turns the television on and we sit cross-legged on the floor. It's a relief to see that Kieran Wakefield has recovered from his injury, and when there's a close-up, I reach forward and touch my hand to the screen. The shock shoots up my fingers and makes my arm tingle. Then the camera focuses on Leon Belmonte, who is sitting in the stands wearing a suit and sparkly earrings and a watch. Why isn't Belmonte playing, I ask. Roshi shrugs. Maybe they want to rest him for El Clasico next weekend. It looks like it's all up to Wakefield tonight. The football program is replaced by an advert for beer. Then that advert is replaced by a different advert for a different beer. Then that advert is replaced by a different advert for a different beer. I start to feel really thirsty. Roshi, why are there so many types of beer? Roshi shrugs. Maybe they all taste different. I didn't realize that drinking beer made you so popular. Well, what do you mean? Well, everyone in these adverts has loads of friends. They're not real people, Roshi says. They're actors. In real life, the more beer you drink, the fewer friends you have. You know that man who sleeps in one of the big bins at the factory during the rainy season? Yeah. He drinks a lot of beer, and I've never seen him with any friends. Well, that's because he smells. No, he smells because he lives in a bin, and he lives in a bin because he drinks a lot of beer. You can't pay rent if all your money goes on beer, and you can't keep a job if you're always drunk. So why does he drink a lot of beer if it means he has to live in a bin, I ask? Why doesn't he just drink water or something else instead? Because beer is addictive. When you drink beer, you feel happy for a while, but then you fall asleep and wake up with a headache. Sometimes you're sick and can't remember anything. The more beer you drink, the more beer you have to drink. That man who lives in the bin has got to the point where he needs to drink beer just to feel normal. It's sad, really. So why does beer look so good on television? Roshi sighs. Everything looks good on television. It's hard to explain. Try, I say, please. Roshi pauses for a moment, then shuffles round to face me properly. Okay, he says. Imagine you want me to buy something from you. Like a pair of football boots. Right, like football boots. If you tell me they're the best boots ever, that they'll make me a World Cup winner, I'll want to own a pair. If I see someone like Kieran Wakefield wearing them, I'll want to have a pair even more. That's why footballers get paid so much money to play in particular boots. It makes thousands of people want those boots for themselves. So it's kind of like a bribe. Yes, like a bribe. Everyone on television is being bribed to make you want things. Do you understand? I frown. A cockroach crawls out of the shadows and scurries back again. I think so. Roshi looks down at his legs and picks at a small scab on his knee. If you understand that, he says, turning back to the television, then you understand a lot. The football program comes back on, and the floor in front of the television is bathed in green light. As the teams line up before kickoff, Roshi's sisters arrive home. I hear the scrape of their flip-flops long before they walk through the doorway. When I turn round and say hello, they just stop and drop their sacks and grunt. I wonder if they realize they're becoming like their mum. Then they kick off their flip-flops, walk straight across the room and collapse onto the bed next to her. I look at Roshi, but he doesn't seem to notice. As much as I try to enjoy the football, every time there is a close-up of someone's boots, I'm reminded of the Dragon's demand. It doesn't matter who the player is or what kind of boots he's wearing. I just can't help thinking about what I have to do. I know something is really wrong when Kieran Wakefield scores a header and I don't even feel like celebrating. I'm almost glad when there's a power cut midway through the second half. I don't wait to see whether it'll be fixed. I just get up, turn my pockets out and start heading back. When I get home, I go straight to my room and fall onto my mattress. I stare up at the ceiling. It feels like a long time since I noticed the new cracks. I roll over and reach down the side of my bed for the poster. There's just enough moonlight for me to see the autograph in the corner. And I trace the lines over and over with my fingertip. My eyes begin to close. and I roll the poster up and return it to its hiding place. But not before I kiss the feet that are wearing my boots.